Welcome everyone. Today we're diving into Ethereum 2.0 staking. You know, the big shift from proof of work to proof of stake and all that jazz.
I'm pumped to get into this. So basically, Ethereum 2.0 is all about upgrading the network to be faster, more secure, and more scalable, right?
Exactly, and it's like a multi-phased overhaul. It's trying to address high gas fees and overburdened networks by moving from mining to staking.
Yup. And by staking, validators are now the ones processing transactions instead of miners under the old proof of work system. Isn't that so?
Right, exactly. In Ethereum's new system, anyone with at least 32 ETH can become a validator. It's all about locking up your coins to secure the network and earn rewards as a bonus.
Interesting. So how does that work on a technical level? Like, what's the process of becoming a validator?
Well, first off, you need to set up a node, whether it's via your own hardware or through a custodial service. You basically run a staking node by downloading what we call the Ethereum 1.0 and Ethereum 2.0 blockchains.
Yeah, and that means you need a decent amount of memory and a solid internet connection, right?
Exactly, because keeping those nodes online is crucial. If a validator goes offline, they risk penalties like slashing, where you end up losing some or all of your staked ETH.
Slashing definitely sounds scary, especially for someone new to this space.
It is a key risk factor. Validators are held accountable, and if you misbehave, you might lose part of your stake. That's like a built-in security measure for the network to stay honest.
Right. But isn't it cool that the system actually rewards validators based on the number of coins they've staked? It really aligns incentives between personal profit and network security.
Absolutely, though it's also kind of like an inverse square root function. The rewards you get decrease as more ETH get staked. So if you're one of many, your yield might drop compared to when fewer are involved.
I see. So there's a balancing act. Fewer stakers gives higher rewards, but we want enough validators for network decentralization. It's a bit of a trade-off.
Exactly, and that's one of the elegant parts about Ethereum 2.0's economics. Rewards might range from around 6% to 15% APR. So if you have 32 ETH staking, you might see somewhere between 2 and 5 ETH per year.
But here's something that gets me. What happens if I don't have 32 ETH? Am I left out entirely?
Not necessarily. There are custodial options, such as staking via exchanges like Coinbase, Binance, or Kraken. These services allow you to pool your ETH with others, getting you staking rewards without having to run your own node.
Right. But doesn't that mean you're handing over control to a third party? That could be risky in its own way.
Yes, exactly. When you use a custodial platform, you lose direct control of the validator's private keys, so you're essentially trusting the platform to manage the staking process and security on your behalf.
And they typically take a cut of your rewards, right?
Correct. They charge a fee for their services. It's a bit of a trade-off. You get convenience, but you have to be comfortable with someone else managing your assets.
This seems like a classic debate between DIY and using a service. Personally, I can see the appeal for beginners to use an exchange, though I'd be cautious about security and centralization risks.
Absolutely. It's a personal risk versus reward choice. By the way, the whole concept of epochs in Ethereum 2.0 is interesting. The network groups blocks, about 32 blocks per epoch, and every epoch lasts around 6.4 minutes.
Right, and if I got it correctly, after just 2 epochs past a new block, the block is considered irreversible, which solidifies the network state.
Exactly. It uses what they call a finality protocol, Casper, which makes sure validators achieve consensus on the state of the block at specific checkpoints.
Yeah, I find that fascinating. It's like a safety net against attacks, like a 51% attack. If validators collude, they risk losing their stake entirely.
That's right. The design really nudges validators towards honest behavior. But on the flip side, there's that liquidity issue too, right? You can't really access your staked ETH for years until Ethereum 1.0 and Ethereum 2.0 finally fully merge.
Yeah, that could be a deterrent for short-term traders who might need quick access to their funds during, say, a bull market.
Exactly, and that's a big point of contention. If you're staking, you're locking your funds up, and that might not suit everyone's trading strategy or risk tolerance.
So it sounds like the ideal candidate for staking is someone who's in it for the long haul, someone who believes in Ethereum's future and isn't too concerned about short-term liquidity needs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about having a long-term vision. Plus, staking helps secure the network while providing a yield, so it's a buy-to benefit if you believe in the network's longevity.
And what about sharding? I mean, that's another technical upgrade tied to Ethereum 2.0. How does staking enable that?
Great point. Sharding is the process of dividing the network into smaller shards, which allows parallel processing of transactions. Essentially, staking creates a more secure and scalable base, and sharding takes it further by allowing many transactions to be processed simultaneously. It's like having multiple checkout counters in a busy store.
Mm-hmm. That's an awesome analogy. But doesn't that also increase the potential risks if one shard gets compromised?
There's some debate on that, but the cross-linking mechanism, where shard states are periodically validated by the beacon chain, helps mitigate that risk. Still, it's a complex balance.
Yeah, I can see why some might critique the complexity. Sometimes it feels like the more you try to fix one issue, the more potential failure points you introduce.
Absolutely, that's a valid challenge. The Ethereum core developers are well aware of these risks and are meticulously planning out each upgrade, but there's no such thing as zero risk in these systems.
Right? Now, circling back to Coinbase, staking ETH through an exchange seems way more accessible. Could you walk us through that process a bit?
Sure, it's pretty straightforward. You start by creating an account on the platform, then you buy ETH. You purchase it just like you would buy any other cryptocurrency. Once you have ETH in your wallet, you join a waitlist to stake because the demand is high.
And then once you're in the queue, you simply deposit your ETH and the exchange does the rest? It manages validator nodes and runs the staking process on your behalf, correct?
Exactly, you just need to sit back and watch your rewards accrue up to an advertised APR of around 5%. Although, keep in mind, you'll be locked in until Ethereum 2.0 fully launches.
That lockup period might be a sticking point for some, especially if the market sees big swings.
Yeah, precisely. And that's why it's important to consider the trade-offs. The ease of a custodial service versus the autonomy and, well, complete control you get by running your own node if you can meet the 32 ETH threshold.
It really boils down to personal circumstance and risk appetite. Not everyone can or wants to lock up their funds for long-term gains. Would you say that, overall, staking is a sound strategy for Ethereum enthusiasts looking to contribute to the network and earn rewards?
Definitely, for those who believe in Ethereum's long-term potential. Even with the risks, like slashing or limited liquidity, the prospect of earning passive income while securing the network is a compelling proposition.
Yep, awesome. This has been really enlightening. It seems like Ethereum 2.0 staking is not just a technical upgrade, it's a whole new economic model for the network.
Exactly. It's an evolution that supports scalability through sharding, enhances security via staking, and provides financial incentives for validators. It really paves the way for a broader range of applications beyond just finance.
I love how it ties together technological innovation and economic incentives. Though I imagine the transition phase will be tricky and might require a bit of patience from everyone involved.
Absolutely. The transition from Ethereum 1.0 to a fully operational Ethereum 2.0 staking model won't be overnight. But if done right, it sets the stage for a more robust and scalable blockchain ecosystem.
Thanks for the deep dive. I feel like I've got a much clearer picture of how staking works, the benefits, and the risks too. This definitely gives us a lot to mull over.
For sure, it's an exciting time in the blockchain space. Whether you're staking through your own node or via a platform like Coinbase, Ethereum 2.0 staking is a pivotal step towards a more efficient future.
All right, great discussion today. Cheers to the future of Ethereum and keeping those networks secure and efficient.